What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Next gen is here, which is, of course, always exciting. You know, it only happens once every 6 to 7 years. And some of you may have seen on Twitter that my PS5 pre-order came in earlier this week. And I've been playing it a ton, but been putting the machine through its paces, getting a feel for it. And I've tested out a ton of stuff, played a ton of different games. And I recorded this video a bit differently than normal. You know, I'm capturing raw 4K 60 frames per second footage, and I'm basically just throwing my voiceover over the audio and then remuxing it back in. So I'm leaving the video completely untouched, you know, not putting it through any additional rendering or anything like that to hopefully make it look as clean as possible. So all of this, everything that you see right now, was recorded at the highest possible bitrate that my hardware would allow, basically. Granted, you know, you'll always have to deal with YouTube's built-in compression, but, you know, nothing we can do about that. But anyways, right off the bat, I gotta say, this console gen, this one, it feels different. It feels a lot different than any, you know, other console generation transition that we've had before, and the fact that, you know, it feels very familiar. It feels very similar, you know. We're so used to, like, when a new generation comes out, we chuck everything from the previous generation out the window, start again from scratch. That's just typically what it's always been like, but obviously that's not what's happening this time around. You know, we're retaining a lot of our libraries, and the games that are from the previous generation are carrying forward, but especially here around launch, there's almost like an emphasis on that. There's an emphasis on the backwards compatibility, and, you know, even something with, like, the PS5, Sony's offering the PlayStation Collection, like a free catalog of games from previous gen. And I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that the launch lineups so far are actually very shallow. They're very thin. There's not that many games to really pick from that are true PS5 next-gen experiences. But the fact that, you know, just all PS4 games run on PS5, but not only run, but actually have like a greatly increased and improved performance, to me that is goddamn amazing. You know, I'm a guy who still sees great value in going back and playing games from decades ago. So if this is how console, you know, transitions are moving forward, man, I am all for it. That catalog of games on the PS4 especially is absolutely incredible. Just going back and discovering some of those titles at a fidelity that was never before possible. It's a goddamn treat, you know, especially because I personally was upgrading from a base PS4 that I've had since 2013. That thing was a freaking jet engine. Yeah, no, it's been amazing. But anyways, moving on, obviously what we're looking at right now is Demon's Souls with my Jon Snow looking character, which is the lone PS5 title I've picked up so far. I do plan on grabbing Miles Morales very soon, probably once I'm done Demon's Souls. But goddamn, this game. I was, you know, a huge fan of the original back in 2009 when it first came out. So, you know, there's no doubt in my mind that this was going to be the game that I picked up at launch. And, you know, I've just been a huge Souls fan ever since 2009 when Demon's Souls came out. And so later on in this video, we're actually going to be checking out a bunch of PS4 games, including a couple Souls games on the PS4. And it's, yeah, that'll be really interesting to see. But just talking about Demon's Souls so far, man, I don't think I need to say it. Like, the game itself, they've basically transitioned and they've copied everything beat for beat from the original. The gameplay, the level design, everything on the actual game side of things, it's the exact same, and goddamn, it still holds up. It's still such a great game. But that's the thing about Demon's Souls, probably all the Souls games, to be honest, is that they were great games that just traditionally ran poorly on console especially. But now looking at it, it's probably like one of the best looking games I've ever played. Just look at it, man, like the lighting, the art design, and having it all run at a solid ass 60 frames per second. This game does have like a 4K, you know, visual fidelity resolution mode, but me personally, I'm a performance mode guy all the way. Give me that 60 frames any day of the week over a little bit of extra resolution. To me, it makes the games feel so much better, especially a game like Demon's Souls that are, you know, these Souls games are so gameplay focused that just having that 60 frames per second makes it feel that much better. So now it's like, this game is just, it's like the best of both worlds. You know, you have the classic design of From Software's Demon's Souls combined with, you know, Blue Point's wizardry and making beautiful looking games that are insanely well optimized. It's those two things combined making it seriously one of the best launch games ever. It is absolutely a must. What else is going on? So I know a lot of people are talking about the controller, and yes, I can confirm the controller. It's really, really good. You know, I don't think I was quite as floored as some people were by the controller. Yes, there's haptic feedback. Yes, there's HD rumble. The HD rumbles, it is good. It's like a much improved version of the Switch's Joy-Cons. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch had HD rumble, but this is, in my opinion, just even like a step above that. But I was actually more impressed by the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback. Basically, there's going to be certain scenarios where when you're pulling the trigger, the analog trigger, you'll actually get resistance when you're trying to pull it, depending on like the scenario and what's happening on the screen. And they can work that into, you know, so many different gameplay instances. But it was just such a different sensation from what I was used to. Honestly, I'd never experienced something like that before, and I was like, holy shit. If I pulled too hard, am I going to break this thing because it's giving off so much resistance? It was really, really cool, but I'm definitely interested to see what devs can do with this tech in the future. I mean, I think hands down the best kind of technical showcase for the controller so far, as a bunch of people have said already, it is Astro's Playroom. That game is a free pack-in that comes pre-installed on every PS5, and it's definitely awesome. Do not gloss over it. It is a great game and a great love letter to PlayStation and PlayStation fans. Anyways, we are going to switch over to some PS4 games, and first, you know, we gotta check out Bloodborne. Easily one of my favorite PS4 games, period. One of my favorite PS4 games of all time. And now here's the thing. I said that most PS4 games run way better on PS5, and that's largely true. But there are also some games that just, by design, are locked at 30 frames per second by the developer. Bloodborne, sadly, is one of those games, and it is a goddamn travesty. And just looking at this game, I mean, just going from Demon's Souls to looking at this, you can tell how much slower it is. Not only just, I don't even know if it's truly locked at 30, like, it almost looks like it's a little slower than some 30 frames per second games. And I will say, on my PS4, that game would dip and slow down all the time on my base PS4, and it was very, very distracting. So I will say, from what I've played so far, the PS5 version, it's definitely a very stable version of this game. But, you know, frames per second aside, I mean, look, it's still a beautiful-ass game. Just look at it, man. The art direction alone carries it so much. But obviously, it's when art direction and when performance and optimization, it's when all of these things are on point, that's when you get something truly orgasmic, you know? That's video games. It's a blend of tech and artistry, and it's freaking awesome. Watching this footage, even though I've played this game to death, and I've platinumed the game and all that stuff, it just makes me want to play it again. But they definitely got to put out a PS5 patch for this game or something. I just know it would make so many people so happy. And you know what, just looking at this footage again right now, it reminds me, obviously this is not a game started from scratch. This was my old save file. One thing I absolutely loved is how seamlessly everything transitioned from my PS4 to PS5, including obviously my games library. You know, I was using an external hard drive on my PS4, and I literally was able to just unplug that exact same external drive, plug it into PS5, and it just read the games from my hard drive, and it just worked. You know, I moved some games over from the external drive to the internal SSD to see if it would load a little bit quicker, and I think I do notice a difference. But yeah, and everything, it just worked. I was very, very impressed, and obviously if I needed to, if I wanted to download any games from my account, I could definitely do that. All of my save data as well transitioned over super smoothly using the cloud saves. It's been great. I know some people have been having issues with external drives, having like database issues and errors, but you know, my experience so far has been super, super smooth. Knock on wood, I suppose. Anyways, now here's Dark Souls 3, just as a comparison to Bloodborne. And this is a game that did not have a frame rate kind of locked at 30. So now it's running super smooth, 60 frames per second on PS5. You know, I'm not Digital Foundry or nothing like that. I don't have access to the same kind of tools that those guys do. But I can only really comment on what I see, and what I see, it looks really good. It looks way better than it did on my PS4. Again, on my base PS4, this thing was noticeably dropping frames all the time, below 30 frames. And I can honestly say it looks probably more comparable to the PC version of the game right now. I mean, I think the PC version probably still would look a little bit better, but I do feel like, you know, a lot of what's happening so far with this backwards compatibility and, you know, with next gen and all that stuff, the gap between PC and console starting to diminish a little bit. But, you know, once more people get their hands on some like super new modern graphics cards, some 3080s or something like that, the gap will definitely widen once again. But yeah, I mean, the Souls games are a really good litmus test for these because they're great games that traditionally, again, just ran super poorly on console. Oh, here's one that actually really blew me away, and that's Days Gone. God damn, this game. Everybody needs to give this game a shot because it looks and runs amazing on PS5. So much better. It's like night and day. And it's a part of that PlayStation collection that Sony is offering to PS5 players. So there's just no excuse. This game has been slept on for the past year and a half. And I just think it's a great game. But definitely a game that was plagued with all kinds of issues when it first came out. Performance issues. And yeah, just to see it now, basically with its full potential unlocked, is really cool. I think people ought to try it out. And Sony Bend, the developers behind the game, have been supporting it a ton, adding a bunch of free content, obviously fixing the performance. And the game is just a ton of fun now, and it's definitely worth going back to check out. And look, dude, they added like a crazy taxi type mode. They added like an arcade menu that you could basically just jump in and play some, just jump straight into some gameplay and do some kind of like weird missions and stuff like that. And it's hilarious. It's a ton of fun because, you know, why the hell not? I wish more games actually did that. All right, moving on. Now we got God of War. And like, look, dude, God of War, even on my base PS4 at 30 frames per second was a beautiful ass game. But now seeing it on PS5 running at 60, just that one little change, man, it's incredible. This game looks incredible. And again, just my save data transferred over, which is sick. Obviously, this is an end game character. But again, you know, this is why, you know, this next console generation is getting by with a very shallow launch lineup of proper next gen games. It's because there's so much to go back and rediscover from the previous gen that are now truly hitting their stride on PS5. And me, that was my strat, man. I banked on that because I held off on finishing Ghost of Tsushima, Red Dead 2, freaking Horizon, because I knew that they would be way better on PS5, and I think I made the right call, because now I'm going to be able to go back and finish all of these games, and this is hands down the best way to play a lot of them. And just thinking, man, there's probably so many people that are going to be picking up games like God of War for the very first time, and you guys, y'all are in for a treat. Goddamn, the PS4 really does have a kick-ass library. Okay, now the next couple here, they're kind of just here because they're some personal favorites of mine. Resident Evil 2 Remake, obviously, might just be one of my favorite games, if not my favorite game from last generation. But, to be fair, I don't know how much of a benefit they're going to get from next gen, because the RE engine is just, it's so well crafted. The game's already looked and ran so great on PS4, especially on PS4 Pro. Like Resident Evil 3 Remake, for instance, I played on Xbox One X, and it looked absolutely incredible. Probably comparable to what we're watching right now. So it's probably not really that much of an upgrade. Again, probably comparable to the PC version, but it's still interesting to see this running on PS5. And man, just looking at this game right now, this game is a masterpiece. Such a love letter to the original. And definitely a game I would love to revisit again on the channel. You know, at 4K, at the highest resolution, highest frame rate possible. Such a good game. And then, of course, Resident Evil 7. I think the first game to use the RE engine. Really, really good engine. And just look at how well this is aged, man. Almost 4 years old, this game. It's almost 4 years old. Still looks great. Still looks freaking disgusting. This game has such a gross, grimy feel to it. But one thing I need to still test out on my PS5 is PlayStation VR. Sony is offering a free adapter to basically allow the PS4 camera to be compatible with your PS5, so I gotta get on that. And I haven't really been following the PSVR scene. I haven't seen what they've been saying about the PS5 and how performance is on that machine. I'm curious to see if there's been any upgrades, because if there have been, oh man, Resident Evil 7 probably, still is one of the best looking and maybe just one of the best overall PSVR games out there, and one of the best looking. Oh my god, it's absolutely terrifying. For those who can handle it, it's definitely not for everyone. It's a goddamn treat. Yeah, definitely one I need to look into. And then we got here The Witcher 3 running on PS5. This is how The Witcher 3 looks on PS5. It has been confirmed that there is a proper official PS5 upgrade coming for The Witcher 3. But in the meantime, this is how it looks. And I will say it's a lot more stable than the PS4 version. Even without the PS5 official update, the difference to me is pretty noticeable. Yeah, again, on my base PS4, that game could hardly keep 30. And, another important note that I haven't even mentioned yet, the PS5, while I've been testing all of these games, silent. Quiet as hell. Insane contrast to my PS4, which sounded like it was about to take off or something. Especially when I was running like a graphically intensive game such as this. I know it might not sound like a big deal, sure, the console ran loud, but to me, like, these things, they're distracting, and it can take you out of it while you're playing, your console being loud, slow down frame rate, all of these things, they just break the experience, they can break immersion, and they just take you out of it. So having these things be alleviated by PS5, to me, is a huge, huge plus, and makes the games just that much more enjoyable. But I will say, yes, The Witcher 3 probably still does, definitely still does, look better on PC. But I am curious about that PS5 upgrade, and I want to see the comparisons after that upgrade is out. I absolutely loved The Witcher 3, and the good thing is, while I beat the main story campaign in The Witcher 3, the Blood and Wine expansion, which is apparently some of the best content in the game, I actually haven't played yet, so I cannot wait to go back and finish the DLC. Probably gonna wait for the upgrade version to do that. But I mean, just look at this game, dude. Just look at it. It's goddamn magical. Makes me very excited for Cyberpunk as well. Man, CD Projekt Red, they've just emerged as one of the best in the biz, that's for sure. Okay, moving on here. The last game that we're gonna look at, it's the last game I captured footage on, is actually one that I was very, very interested in, and that's the Avengers, because it basically barely ran sometimes on my base PS4. It was really, really bad. And now running in performance mode on PS5, it is definitely a huge improvement. My god, I can tell it's like targeting 60, and even though I'm not Digital Foundry, I can definitely tell it's not holding 60, but compared to running at basically 20 frames per second, all the time on my PS4, it's really a night and day difference. I actually really liked this game's single player campaign, and I think maybe once it dips in price, people should definitely check it out just for that, even if you don't get into the end game stuff. The end game, it's called Avengers Initiative, all of that content, it couldn't quite hold my attention personally, and I kind of got bored of it. Ran out of things to do, but Crystal Dynamics, if they stick with it, they add a bunch of awesome content and content that's really fun, I could definitely see myself coming back to it, especially since it definitely appears to be running a lot better. Not perfect, but better. And honestly, it makes a huge difference, again, as I was saying before, just the way the game feels. If it's running smooth, the combat feels way better, And some of my favorite moments in this game is when there's chaos on the screen, you're faced with tons of enemies, and there's tons of crazy shit happening on the screen. But before, when I was in that kind of scenario, the game would slow way the hell down on my base PS4. Then all of a sudden, you know, when that happens, I'm not paying attention to what I should be paying attention to. I'm focused on the game's shitty performance. It's so distracting, and it takes you out of it, you know? And that doesn't just go for the Avengers, that goes for any game. That's why, to me, having these things be alleviated by the extra power that next gen offers is a huge, huge plus for me. That goes for PS5, that goes for Xbox Series X. You know, so many last gen games were really held back by the hardware that they were on. I really feel like so many games, you know, especially in the last few years, quickly outgrew the hardware. And I mean, there's just so many examples of this. The PS4 and Xbox One libraries, they're both absolutely massive, and there's lots to discover there. And I'm probably trying out games and going back and playing old games for years to come. But anyways, guys, that's going to be it for this video. One thing I want to end it on and just kind of leave it on is that obviously I said before that this hardware generation so far, the transition, it is skating by with a very shallow launch lineup. There's only really a couple of exclusives. Even, you know, worse on the Series X. A lot of it really has to do with playing previous generations games at much better performance. But that being said, I feel like this console generation, more than ever, just wait. I know pre-orders were a shit show. I know they're really hard to get a hold of right now. But now, more so than ever, this is definitely a generation that you do not need to have right at launch. Do not buy from resellers. Do not buy from scalpers. Just, you can wait like a year. Wait until early 2021, and you're honestly not missing out on that much. There's only a couple true next-gen experiences that are available right now anyway, so no shame in waiting. Definitely don't buy from resellers. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to share my thoughts, share some footage with you guys, and yeah, just let you know what I've been playing over the past few nights now that I got my PS5. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Peace out.